Yo, what's going on YouTube? What's him here again with another Forza tuning video. My god, these things keep coming. Why did they happen? I don't know. Anyway, today we've got, as you can see, the Lotus Evora. A very, very underused car in the hoppers from what I've noticed. I haven't seen anyone use it. Much like before with the machine, the Rebel machine. I haven't seen anyone use that. I've not seen anyone use this. So I like rare cars. I wanted to give it a go. I wanted to see what it was like. I can say I know why it's rarely used. It's not a very easy car to tune. It's not a top leaderboard car. It's never going to be that good. But it's fun, it's rare, and I think I've made it reasonably drivable. It's not a power car. It's not going to be suitable for tracks like Road America or anything that has a really long straights, etc. It has got decent amount of downforce. It's got good grip, good handling. It's a Lotus after all. That's what they're known for, handling, grip, precision, turning, etc. It's got all that. It's got a little bit of power, but you're not going to beat an Alfa Stradale in it. But you're going to have a lot of fun. I particularly like using it around the Circuit of the Americas. I think it flows around that track beautifully. It might not be, again, top in terms of its timing, but it's a lot of fun. I won a couple of races around there in it. Granted, not against the best of opposition, but still, I enjoyed myself. I thought it was a really fun car to drive, and at the end of the day, that's why I play this game, to have fun. So, with all that being said, let's have a look at what I did. Let's have a look at what I added to it to make it the way it is. Okay, so starting out, we go straight to the engine, and I didn't change it. I didn't really see the point. You put the 5.2 litre V10 in it, which is, seriously powerful. It's a lot of weight as well. It's going to be difficult to get that in it, to be honest, because then you've got to put the weight back in and you're going to make it into a very different machine. And then we've got the Ferrari 458 engine, the 4.5 litre V8 engine, and as much as I'd love to put that in it, it's just not going to happen. The PI is just far too high on it, so yeah, we left it stock. Drivetrain is standard, and we put a single turbo on it because naturally aspirated, this car, I tried putting just the normal parts in it, like I put the exhaust on it, I think I might have enlarged the engine block slightly or something like that. I can't remember exactly what I did, but I just found that it just had nothing. It had no power at all. It was unusable. So I had to look at the stats, I had to look at the numbers, and in the trade-off, this was put the turbo on it, produced more power, more torque. Granted, at the cost of some weight issues, but not too bad. And I just thought it was the much better compromise of all the options that I had. So there we go, the turbo's on. Aero. We do have full aero on it. We have front and rear. So there we go. Not much to say about that really. We've got stock tyres on it. And the stock tyres on this would be street tyres. As you can see, there's no street tyre option. So it goes sport and then race. So this will be the third option. So these are the equivalent of street tyres. So they're pretty commonly used in A-Class. So I've used street tyres in a lot of my tunes. They're fine. They work perfectly well. As you can look at the handling rating, it's 5.8. This thing doesn't struggle for grip. It's fine. You don't need any better than that. I think, as you can see, I tried it with sport tyres, but there's no point. Really, there's no point. And we've got the widest on the front, 255s, and the widest on the rear, 305s. I could perhaps put them down slightly on the rear, but I'm only going to need 2 PI, and I can't really do a lot with 2 PI in terms of adding power, so just leave them where they are. Wheels. We have the heaviest wheels. Again, for PI reasons, needed that. And they have not been enlarged either front or back. So that's the standard width. We have a stock clutch, of course. Race transmission. A street driveline. And of course a race diff. We have race brakes. Guess what? We've got race suspension. Oh, and we've got a race front anti-roll bar, a race rear anti-roll bar, a full roll cage, and all the weight has been taken out. Bet you didn't see any of that coming. Now, in terms of the engine, not done a lot, as I say. We've got stock intake, stock fuel system, stock ignition, even a stock exhaust, stock cams, sport valves, stock engine block, stock pistons, street turbos, that's just the first stage turbo, stock intercooler, stock oil and cooling, and guess what? That's right, a stock flywheel. So a lot of the engine is standard. It's stock, it's not been changed. Just a couple of things here and there. That's it. Can't do a lot with it. So let's have a look at the numbers. Tyre pressure's got set to 28.5. Now, again, with these being street tyres, they are not as good, not as sensitive to temperature as high performance tyres, race tyres and sport tyres. So you have to put the PSI slightly higher. This is to get it to obviously 32 PSI when the car is fully up to temperature, fully up to speed. That's what you're aiming for. I've got my gearing set to this. I think that's a custom setup. I don't remember. I have to be honest, but I'm fairly sure it's a custom setup. Again, I referenced the Forza tuning app, whatever it is on what you can download on your phone. But that's all I did. Referenced it, that I always change it because, as far as I'm concerned, it never gives me what I exactly want. But that's my starting point. Usually, I use that. I think I probably used it for this. I'm not entirely sure. But again, this is something that you can play around with. It's going to be particular to what you want. I mean, I've left it where it is for no particular reason. I think actually I will probably change it to more acceleration because I feel it needs it. I don't really care what the stats said about 0 to 100 being slower because I just think it needs more acceleration. The gears need to be slightly shorter. So I might just leave it there right now. I might put it to 4.12. And this is how lucid and how kind of free tunes are. You know, you don't leave them the way they are. Always go back to them. Keep changing them. Keep looking at them. Keep trying to improve them in different ways. Because you can always do that. A tune is never perfect. Like anything. Nothing is ever perfect. You can always improve on these things. You're always learning. I particularly am always learning. I've improved a lot of my tunes recently and gained a hell of a lot of time on what I used to get. You can always do that. So whatever it's set to here, it's not gospel. It's not set in stone. Tune it the way you want it, but this is just the starting reference point. Camber, we've got 2.5 on both front and rear. Sorry, minus 2.5 on both front and rear. Again, this is just for maximum handling purposes. This just really helps the car in the corners. You get maximum power down, get a lot of grip, get a lot of responsiveness, and yeah, it's just a nice setup. We've got a little bit of toe on the front, so 0.1, and minus 0.2 on the rear, keeping the rear as stable as possible, not allowing those rear tyres to lose grip and swing out too much, and just to keep it in check, really. And the front there, that's just to make them slightly more responsive, to give me a tiny bit more responsive into certain corners. I think I put that on because I was testing it around Road Atlanta, and on the final corner on Road Atlanta, I found it was drifting slightly out from the front, like I was getting a little bit of understeer that I just couldn't cure. So I just put that on it, that cured it, and then makes the car much more usable. We've got the caster at 6.6. That's a little bit higher than usual, but that's because of the way the weight balance on this car is, where the engine is as well. It's a mid-engine car, so yeah, you have to adjust where your centre of gravity is, where the centre of mass is. So that's what that's all about there. Anti-roll bars, we've got 17.92 on the front and 15.36 on the rear. Again, this is all just about balance. A little bit softer than usual because it's a different kind of chassis, different kind of car. As I say, it's mid-engined. It's not my usual. You know, I'm kind of more favoured towards the American muscle, if you hadn't noticed, and this is very much not that. It's a much more handling-based chassis. It's, you know, it's aerodynamically more efficient, etc. So you have to take all that in mind, and you can't tune the same way for every chassis. You can't tune the same way for every car. Things are always different. So that's what we have with this. So I've got slightly more stiffness on the front than the rear. That's just because I think this has got a 44% weight bias to the front, so most of the weight is to the rear. And because of that, you need the front end to be, in my opinion, a bit stiffer and a bit more responsive, because when you accelerate, all that weight is going towards the back, and then when you're braking again, not as much of that weight obviously is coming forward again. So you need those wheels to be there, down on the ground, in the most responsive state to get you around the corner in the best way possible. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. This car is a little bit twitchy. I'm not going to lie. It is a little bit, oh shit, wow, that could have gone wrong. Or in a lot of corners. You get that kind of feeling sometimes. But once you've done a couple of laps in it and you realise how to drive it, It's a lot of fun. But like I say, a little bit twitchy, and perhaps these settings can be tweaked to make that better. But right now, it is where it is. In my opinion, making the car handle perfectly, which it isn't right now. It's good right now. I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably about an 8.5 out of 10 in my opinion. But like I say, I think even if it was perfectly bolted to ground and someone figured out how to make it perfect, I don't think you'd do much better times in it personally, because it just hasn't got the power. The springs are set to 589.9 on the front and 750.3 on the rear. Again, that is using the same equation as usual. That is taking the weight of the car times 0. Whatever the front weight bias is, and divide that by 2, and that will give you a number around 589.9. And then do the same for the rear with the remaining weight percentage. So that's the weight of the car times 0. Whatever the remaining weight percentage is. So in this case, it would be 56. Divide that by 2, and that will give you a number around 750.3. Simple as that. And I've got a ride height 1 above the minimum, because that's what I like. I just think the car's really responsive there, and it doesn't wash around too much. There's not too much play in the suspension. It doesn't roll around too much. It's just nice. Now, rebound stiffness. This took me a while to get this one. As you can see, it's a bit different. It took me a hell of a long time to get this one right. So we've got 6.3 on the front and 7.9 on the rear. Now that is a difference of obviously 1.6 in favour of the rear to the front. Now that's obviously more likely with a car that has this kind of weight differential. So you've got a lot more weight in the rear compared to the front. Therefore, you need more rebound stiffness in general. That's not always the case, but in general, wherever the most weight is, that's where you're going to need more support. That's where you're going to need more rebound too. So with that being said, I wasn't expecting it to be quite this different. I mean, when you have a difference like that, in my experience, usually the results are profound. You obviously, that to me looks like a bit of a drift setup. If I was to make a drift car, I would make something probably a bit more extreme than that, to be fair, but it's getting towards a drift setup. So you want the rear end being really playful and really, loose, so you can just go around a corner, it just slips out there and you can just control it and whatever. It's not really like that, because like I say, the most of the weight is in the rear, and you need that there to help support it. So although that does look a bit crazy right now, when you drive it, you'll see that it's fine. And the bump stiffness we've got set to 4.5 and 4.6 in the rear. Again, slightly more on the rear for the same reasons that I've just explained. Perhaps you could play with the bump a bit more. The bump is less crucial to how it affects the handling. It does definitely have an effect in cornering, of course. And you will notice a difference if you just change it. So if you just did something like that, you would notice a difference. The front would become much more responsive. The rear might then start to drag a bit more, and it might not be quite so tail happy. But then again, it might be really understeery if you did that. I don't know. I don't actually try it. But those little things, these little increments like this, I mean, big changes are never recommended in my opinion with this sort of stuff. Little changes like that, like just one here, one there, those change the car in immeasurable ways. They change it in huge ways. If you know what to feel and you know what you're looking for, you will notice that. Downforce we've got set to 99 and 180, and slightly above where they start, purely because it just keeps the car stable. I've said this before, I don't really believe or like putting maximum downforce on any of my tunes. It happens now and again because there are certain cars where you just have to, but for me this isn't one of them, and it's just fine where it is. I like that. So again, feel free to change it how you like it though, but I like that. It's nice. We've got the brakes set to 49% and 85%. It's not my usual 48% because I found that was a little bit too harsh. I felt that the car was a bit too squeamish, and so I just thought, okay, I'll slightly adjust the balance, get it slightly towards the front, spread that pressure out, and it worked a treat. It's really nice now actually. I mean, the pressure's still the same, 85%, but yeah, as you can see, it's nice. Look, if you look at the braking distance from 100 to 0 there, 240.9. I usually look for around 260. I think that's usually why I try to keep them, but if it goes to 240, that's even better. That means it's great on the brakes, and this thing doesn't really lock up that much if you're braking correctly. It's nice, it's lovely. And we've got the diff set to 71% and 77%. I'm changing my diffs quite a lot at the moment. You'll see in my future next couple of tunes that I upload that the diff has changed quite a bit on some cars, and I'm gonna have to make another update video, I think, on previous tunes that I've done to show exactly how I'm changing the way I'm tuning now to get more speed, to get better performance, and ultimately better race times and race performances. And the diff is one of the places that I've really changed. I still believe that having it this high does give you a slight increased performance through the corners, but there are certain cars when you, particularly when you cannot put a custom gearbox on them, there are certain cars where you really need to lower the diff, particularly on the decel, because changing down is really tough sometimes, particularly in race situations when you've suddenly just got to make a decision out of nowhere, like someone's pulled across you, or they've just come out of nowhere and suddenly you've got to brake a lot earlier and you've got to suddenly shift down and take the corner slightly differently. If you do that with a really, really high diff setting and the car is not happy with it, you're just going to spin out. And I've had that a few times, and not in a lot of my tunes. Most of my tunes it's fine with, like the muscle cars, they deal with it quite well. But cars like this, cars like, I've got a Honda S2000 tune that I'm going to be bringing out probably later in the week, and that I had to change it a lot for, because that thing just wouldn't have it. It wouldn't have it at all. It just, every time I came to shifting down from, I think it was 4th to 3rd around certain corners in races, I was just really struggling. I was causing accidents, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. So yeah, this is a setting that on this works really well, but if you find that you are spinning out a lot when you're shifting down, then just lower that diff, lower it to around, I don't know, 50. I think I'm going to about 50, 52, 55, somewhere around there at the moment on with the tunes. So that's entirely up to you. So yeah, like I say, this car is very ideal for handling tracks, as you might imagine it being a Lotus. It's very rare, so you're not going to race too many people in it, if you like that kind of thing. I like that kind of thing. I like having something slightly different to what everyone else is using, because I think it makes, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm playing the game a bit better than they are, I suppose. I'm not really, but in my mind, that's what I like to think, because I like to just do things a bit different, I suppose. So yeah, do by all means try it. As I say, you're not gonna beat alphas in it. You're not gonna do anything like that. You're not. If someone's got a really well tuned BAC mono, they're probably gonna beat you as well. But you're gonna have a lot of fun. You're gonna be different, and yeah, just enjoy it. So with that being said, please do like and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.